Penguin Random House Audio presents Body of Stars by Laura Maylene Walter. Read for you by Erin Spencer. For Huda and Jennifer. Part 1. Possibility. Mapping the Future. An Interpretive Guide to Women and Girls. Universal Markings Diagram. Front view. The location on a woman's body paired with its relevant subject area. 1. Back of head. Mental acuity. 2. Throat. Personality. 3. Right side. Companionship. 4. Abdomen. Family. Nuclear. 5. Upper thigh. Family. Extended. 6. Calf. Fitness and sport. 7. Temple. Academics. 8. Chest and left deltoid. Matters of the heart. 9. Left side. Transition and change. 10. Diaphragm. Compassion. 11. Abdomen, left. Perception. 12. Knee. Method and order. 13. Arch of foot. Individuality. Chapter 1. From the time of my birth, my brother Miles read me like a map, tracing my patterns of freckles and birthmarks to see my future, and to learn something of his own. In those early years, my body was as much his as it was mine. To share meant letting him lift the back of my tank top or sweater, so he could search my skin for a hint of what was to come. I never complained because I believed we were the same, that the predictions marked on my body were part of him, too. We were partners working in a discipline that required practice. He'd approach me at the breakfast table or in the upstairs hallway and ask if he could examine me again, as if my markings might have shifted, a phenomenon we both knew wasn't possible, at least not yet. When I was too old for Miles to see me shirtless, he studied my arms, focusing on the constellation of moles near my left elbow. "You're lucky," he told me. "You know what will happen." It was true. I did, as a girl, have this blueprint of my life imprinted on my skin. At sleepovers, my friends and I stripped to our underwear to read our own futures. We lingered over our lower backs, the place for love and romance. "You'll fall in love more than once," Marie told Cassandra, and Cassandra, in turn, studied Marie's back and said with wonder, "You'll live with a woman," which none of us at that age understood. All we knew was that our lives were speckled in advance on our skin, as it had been for our mothers, as it was for our sisters, while our brothers and fathers were left in the dark. Over the years, Miles memorized me, every inch, and documented my marks in his notebook. That notebook was thick, with unlined pages and a pale blue cover. Sometimes I'd sneak into his room and flip through it, the little dots of ink pressed so hard into the pages they made a series of bumps, like a book for the blind. I was nearly 16, and the childhood markings my brother recorded would soon be outdated when I matured to my adult markings. Then I knew he'd want to study the revised map my body had produced. That summer and early autumn, leading up to my 16th birthday, was a time of uncertainty, of risk and wonder. All around me, other girls were entering puberty, and before long, I joined them. My hips widened, and I grew taller and gained some weight. I understood these changes extended beyond my physical body. Soon, everything would change. My predictions, my expectations, my future, my entire life. We kept our household copy of Mapping the Future, an interpretive guide to women and girls, an ancient leather-bound edition that had been in our family for generations, on the living room mantel, but Miles often claimed it for himself. My brother's interest in interpretation seemed to me another one of his quirks, like how he was left-handed or disliked chocolate. Interpretation was a female art, and for Miles to spend hours studying patterns and predictions seemed a bewildering choice. His love of interpretation was an obsession, a wildness, a force swelling beyond his control. Watching Miles cultivate a skill he was not meant to have, not meant to love in the first place, was a lesson all on its own. We spent so much time together then. In August, a heat wave drove us into our basement, that shadowy space with the dirt floor and beams furred with cobwebs. We slipped past stacks of boxes to a tight spot under the kitchen where we could hear snatches of our mother's disembodied voice from above. When we were younger, Miles and I would hide there to eavesdrop on our parents, but on this occasion we were motivated by little more than heat and boredom. We sat on the floor and leaned against the concrete walls, letting the coolness sink into our skin. Much later, I'd recall that afternoon as a dark point in the evolution of our relationship, the start of a chasm yawning open between us. But at the time, we were merely trying to fill a few empty hours. "Let's play Did You Know?" I suggested. The game was our own invention, created on a long-ago summer afternoon much like this one, but we hadn't played it in ages. Miles rooted in his pocket for a coin. "Call it," he told me, and the coin turned over itself in the dim basement light. Heads or stars? I called heads, but when he caught the coin against his arm and lifted his fingers, it faced stars up. A sly expression crossed his face. My brother was nearly 18, but could still look impish, like a 12-year-old boy just coming into his own. "Ladies first," he said. Going first was a disadvantage, but I was ready. I turned to write my answer in the dirt behind me, where he wouldn't be able to see it. "Did you know," I began, "there's a chance the upper school might make gym class co-ed, like it is in the lower schools?" He looked amused. "I don't think so, Celeste." "Just listen. Cassandra's mother is on the school board, which met last night." When crafting a lie in this game, it helped to mix some truth into the matter. I went on to explain that a board member was advocating for mixed-gender physical education to help girls and boys view each other as equals. Combining curricula could also save money. As I spoke, my brother studied me with one side of his mouth twisted, a sign of his uncertainty. "If that's true," he said, "you wouldn't have waited until now to tell me." Saving information for the game is a good strategy. You taught me that yourself. A sense of calm washed over me, an understanding that I could go on lying for as long as it took to win. Besides, nothing's settled. It's just an idea someone suggested at the meeting. Miles rolled the coin between his palms. I could tell the implications of co-ed gym were flashing through his mind. How girls newly matured into their adult markings, and thus at the height of their beauty, would be thrust into closer contact with boys at school. But if this was the allure of my story, it was also its downfall. "Lie," Miles said at last. "Parents would complain about their changeling daughters being so close to boys during physical activity." Before I could try once more to convince him, Miles crawled around me to peer at the answer in the dirt. "Lie," I'd scrawled in looping cursive. "My point," Miles said. "But that was a good round, Celeste. You almost got me." I waited as he wiped clean my answer and replaced it with his own. Once he'd finished, he settled cross-legged before me, dust battering his knees and shins. "Did you know," he said, "that Mom and Dad tried to have another baby after you?" I worked to keep my face impassive. "I know what you're thinking. That's impossible because Mom's markings showed she'd only have 2 children. Miles lowered his voice. "Here's the thing. They thought maybe the markings left something out, or were unclear. Maybe they...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?